Okay, now that all of that is installed, I am going to install the chain. Now I've already cut the chain to length. Basically what I did is I threaded it through the rear sprocket, rear freewheel, onto the front sprocket. Well, my bolt back here is loose, so the wheel slides back and forth. That way I can make sure I get it the right length. Then all I did was wrap it around, see where it needed to be. Use my chain breaker. Squeeze the link out like that. Now it's the right length, and all I have to do is install the master link between those two links right there, and it'll be ready to tighten everything up. Okay, now I'm going to install the master link. I've already got it in place just to hold the chain, but basically what it is, looks like this. Slide that through both pieces of the chain like that. You take the outer plate, install that. Then you take the little spring clip, which is this piece right here, and it slides this way onto the chain, not that way, but this way. Now, it just slides on like that right there, and you just use some pliers and snap it into place. Now, I just did that for illustration purposes because all this is actually going to go going to happen on the inside of the chain, so you can't see it as much. But that's how you install it. Pretty simple. Okay, now that the chain is installed, I am going to tighten up the rear wheel. It's ready to be tightened up. And what I'm going to do, as you can see, there's a lot of slack in the chain. You don't want that. So this wheel needs to slide back like that to take up tension. Now that's where the chain tensioner comes in. It actually, as you tighten this in the frame, it will eventually come in contact with that special washer in there. And what that does, it allows you to tighten that thing up and take up just the right amount of slack in the chain. Then you can tighten the axle nuts. By tightening this one, gets this side all lined up, then all you have to do is pull on this side and make sure that the tire is lined up with the same space on this side and this side. That way your brakes will line up, your wheel will run true, and you'll have a nice straight running bike. So anyway, all I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this up with an Allen wrench, get the chain to the proper tension, then I'll tighten up the lock nut right there to hold it in place. Then I can tighten the axle nuts. And that's all there is to it, and it'll be ready to go onto the pedals. Okay, next up I am going to install the handlebars and the brakes. I need to install the handlebars before I do the brakes because they kind of go together. So I will be installing the handlebar first, then the handbrake, and then I'll install the brakes. Then I'll have to cut up the cable to the appropriate lengths, and then I'll install the grips. But one thing I forgot to mention, and it's very important and crucial in any project like this, is sometimes you have to have one of the most important tools in any person's arsenal of tools, and that is a good cup of joe. Right here, right from my Keurig. It's delicious, it's warm, and it definitely helps make the job go a lot smoother. So just know that throughout my projects I usually have this tool here on the sidelines somewhere, even though I might not mention it because it is pretty important. Okay, so I'm going to do the handlebar next, and that's coming up. Okay, the first thing to do when I install the bar is I need to remove the top cap of the stem. I've already taken the other bolts out, so all I do is just take out this last one, already greased, ready to go. Remember, you always got to grease the threads so things don't seize up when you have to make adjustments or replacements or such. Okay, on the handlebar, this is knurled right here. It's machined with some rough surface, so when this gets all put into place, it kind of helps keep it from slipping. So, and it also helps you to center it up on the stem because you want these centered, you know, right to left. Okay, then you put the top cap on like that, just kind of hold it in place, and then grab the bolts. And install the bolts. I'm going to go ahead and install all 4 of those bolts before I tighten them up, but you get the idea how they're supposed to be. Okay, there it is, all installed. All the bolts are snug down, but they're not completely tightened. And then one thing you want to kind of remember to do is when I install the stem, I want to make sure that the gap here and the gap here is pretty close, so it's kind of even whenever I crank down all the bolts. I don't want this top cap to be cocked too far that way or that way. I want it to be, you know, even here and even there. One thing I like about this design of this particular type of stem is the top cap, instead of just being flat on the top, it's kind of angled forward. It makes it a lot easier to get to the bolts to tighten it up. Sometimes, especially when you're just spinning them on there, I like having this tool like this, where you can just kind of zing, zing, zing. And it's hard to do if the crossbar is in the way. As far as the adjustment, that's something you kind of have to do after the bike is fully assembled and you sit on it and start to ride it. So right now I'm going to kind of eyeball it and put it where I think it's going to be. And that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten all those down really good. And I'm going to tighten them just like you know, you would a you know, like a car wheel or something. I'm going to tighten this one a bit, then that one, then I'll go to that one, then that one, and so on. Not tighten this one all the way down and that one. That way it gives it a good even pressure all the way around. There's not too much stress on any given bolt. They're all evenly stressed. So anyway, I'm going to tighten that up real quick.